Hello everyone and welcome to this week's rather long video tutorial on opening theory. This is based on the book by Master Xiangqi and Grandmaster Xiangqi called Deception and Countermeasures in the Xiangqi Opening. This will be bot 43. There's a free available ebook version on the World Xiangqi Federation website. So this is one of the longer and more long-winded bots. So we shan't waste any time. And this bot, central cannon, and black would go for the pale corner cannon, indicating that he might go for the sandwich horse defense, which he does. And red would go with the third pawn advancement variation. Black would counter likewise. And black chooses to develop his left horse as an edge horse, and black plays a prophylactic move of e3 plus 5. Now this is all the moves thus far are considered to be orthodox. Now, red continued with the 5-6 cannons in this variation. Now, this would be a commonly seen position in Xiangqi tournaments even today. Now, this would be one of the most steadfast methods for red to play in this position. So far so good. Black will continue to rank chariot. Red will develop his left chariot as a foul chariot. Black would protect the cannon, and black would develop his chariot to the riverbank. Black would continue to play aggressively with r9 equals to 4 to traverse the chariot across the board and target the red palace corner cannon. Red protects the his cannon in this manner, and black beefs up his defense on the central file. Now, this would be the position of discussion for this board. Now, as can be seen, red advances his chariot to the third rank, where red, the main idea behind this move would be that red would now be prepared to play h3 plus 2 to develop his right horse to attack black's left flank. This would be a tactical aggressive combination, but unfortunately, this is also a deceptive move because if black countered correctly, red will be in deep trouble. So there were three main variations that were discussed for this position. The first would be c2 minus 1, the second would be c6 plus 2, which are all not recommended. In the book, the authors recommended playing p3 plus 1 as the correct way to counter red in this situation. So in variation A, black would retreat his cannon to the third rank to counter this chariot. Now the idea behind this move would be that black was prepared to capture the pale corner cannon and then capture the red chariot and also trade chariots. Now because this chariot was protected, it would seem that this move would be viable. However, once black made this move, it would show that he would have fallen into black's trap. This move, in the book, there was a comment that if red had adopted the 5-7 cannons instead of the 5-6 cannons, this move would have been viable. So why would this be so? Let us continue to see. Now, after making this move, red would not only not retreat his chariot, he would play r2 equals to 3 and to deliberately add more pressure on black's flank. Now, even though it was very obvious that black was going to capture the cannon, red did not bother or simply ignored the threat. He continued with his plans very confidently and refused to budge. So, what would happen if black captured the pale corner cannon? Red would simply play r8 plus 4. And after trading material, as can be seen, now there will be 1, 2, 3, 4 black pieces against red's 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. But at this point in time, this horse would now be captured by red. So red would have gained material in the process. So a short review. Once this happened, red would have captured the red would not have to worry and simply gain material in this situation. Now, it's very important for red to play the elephant to the edge to protect his pawn, so that there will be an opening for this chariot to be developed later on after capturing the black horse. And red will go into the mid game with a significant material advantage. If black did not capture the palace corner cannon and chose to play something like r4+4, red would counter in this manner. He will simply capture the advisor, and in the process he would gain an advisor. Red would still have made some gains in this variation. So once black retreated the cannon, it would mean that red would be prepared to gain material. So this would be variation 1, or variation A as I translated in the book. In variation B, black would try to protect his this horse by playing C6+2. So if red played R2 equals to 3, black could play R3+2 to attack this chariot, as the cannon will start protecting the horse. Now it would appear that this move will allow black to make gains on both the offensive and defensive ends. Unfortunately, this move will actually mark the start of black's self-destruction. So once black played this move, red will simply move his chariot to attack the cannon. And this is a very simple, straightforward, and yet very, very efficient counter by red. And this cannon would now be placed in a very embarrassing predicament. Now there are two ways for black to move this cannon. The first would be c6 equals to 5, the other would be r4 equals to 3. But if r4 equals to 3 were played, red would simply play p9+1 to advance his pawn and prepare to play h9+8 to attack the chariot, thus adding more pressure. And once this horse was allowed to be developed, this is one very critical factor in this opening. If red were allowed to develop his left horse, or the horse on the edge file, it would mean that black would be in deep trouble. So r4+3 would not be an option, and if black played c6 equals to 5, black will simply retreat his chariot one intersection and still target the black horse. Black would deliver a check first. Red would further solidify or consolidate his defense. And now black would have to move this horse so that the cannon will be able to protect this horse. There are two sub-variations that were discussed. First would be h3+2, and the other was c2+6, whereby black would sacrifice this horse and try to find compensation with r2+7 to capture the red's edge horse, as the cannon was now blocking the elephant. Now, is this viable? We shall see. Red will simply accept the trade, and after trading material, the position of the black pieces would not be desirable. Instead, red would now be prepared to play r3 equals to 5 to capture the elephant and threaten the horse. And red will draw first blood. Although black would now have mounted or concentrated his forces on red's left flank, this defensive formation would be able to handle black's aggressions temporarily. So red will be the first to draw blood, and this would not be desirable for black. So h3+2 would perhaps be better than playing c2+6, where black would try to trade material. But if h3+2 were played, red would now continue as planned to develop his right horse and prepare for a flanked attack. This move was played so that black could play r6+2 if red captured the pawn. But black would have none of it and still add even more pressure on this rank. Now at this point in time, the black's formation would be weakened. The pawns would actually be getting in the way of the horses, and red would enjoy the obvious initiative. So a short recap: in variation 2, black would try to play c6+2 to try to hoping that black can play h3+2 later on. Now the recommended variation would be to play p3+1, whereby black would sacrifice a pawn. Now this is a very good counter by black because it would force red to show what he will do in this situation. So now, as I mentioned earlier, this is one of the longer boards in the book. So if p3+1 were played, there are two major variations that were discussed, two major sub-variations. The first would be p7+1, whereby red would accept the trade of pawns, and the other would be r8+7, whereby red would capture the pawn in this manner. So in variation CA, as I wrote in the book, as I translated, after playing p3+1, this chariot will now be closed because it would not have any good places to move, and this elephant will be a major weakness because it will now be vulnerable to smothered cannon attacks by black. So if this were played, black would simply play r4+4 to gain control of this cross riverbank rank, which is very aggressive. Now, if red stubbornly continues to attack the enemy horse as planned, this would not be an appropriate time because black would simply sacrifice the horse to attack. It would have been better for red to have played p9+1 to give this chariot some protection. But this variation is not discussed in this board. So if red tried to play r3 equals to 3, black would simply play c6 equals to 2 and threaten to play c6+2 and threaten to play c6 equals to 2 to capture the red chariot, which is now in a predicament. So another two variations were present, two sub-variations. First would be r3-1, whereby red actually accepted the trade. The other would be red moving the chariot to safety. As can be seen, there are still many various sub-variations over here. So we shall look at variation CAB first, whereby red would, after being threatened, red would advance his chariot to the suit rank. Now, black would simply play r3 equals to 2. Black would decisively capture this pawn and offer protection to this file, and also threaten to play c6 equals to 3 to threaten a smothered cannon checkmate as mentioned earlier. So this would be the correct move or the recommended move for black to play. It would not be a good idea to try to trade chariots, because after trading chariots, if red refused, the situation on the board would quickly escalate into a very complicated one, whereby black would have a hard time trying to control the situation and anything could go. The margin for error would be very slim. So if black played c2 equals to 1 and red accepted the trade, red would be given a chance to adjust his formation and cover up this weakness. So, but unfortunately, black would still be able to play r4 equals to 7, and black would still have the initiative. And after retreating the horse, this horse will now be protected by the cannon, and red's initial plans of capturing material would be dashed. So red would have a significant advantage in this situation and would probably continue with c6 = 7 to attack the horse and gain material. So black would have the initiative. So c2 = 1 to trade material would not be as good as playing r4 = 3. So once this move was made, red would try his best to cover up the weakness of this elephant. So can red be greedy and capture the black horse? Let us see. If this were done, black would play h3+4 to threaten the chariot, forcing the chariot to retreat. Now, as mentioned earlier, since this elephant was a major weakness, could black have simply defended in this manner? Red would simply play h6+4 to continue attacking the chariot, because the horse would be protected by the chariot, and the black cannon would now use the horse as a cannon mount to attack the chariot. Red would try to force a change, would try to force exchange of material, and red would simply capture the edge horse. Now, if red captured the black chariot, the black horse would capture the red chariot, and black would still gain material. So black would, if this was so, another way, instead of capturing the chariot, black would simply play our h1+3 for the elbow cannon checkmate. So black would be faster in delivering the checkmate. So by retreating the chariot to the throat rank, black would now prevent black from going for the elbow horse checkmate, and even so, black would continue to apply much more pressure to this file. Sorry, with c6 = 2, this black would now be prepared to play to capture the red chariot, which is why the red chariot moved. And as can be seen, black would have gained material and still be applying tons of pressure on red's left flank. Red would have a huge advantage because one of his options would be to play c2 = 3 for the spotted cannon checkmate, and red would have a hard time trying to deal with this situation. Hence, capturing the horse would not be a good idea. So h3+4 to attack the chariot would mark the start of a series of tactical combinations. Again, the horse is advanced to attack the chariot, and black would gain more initiative. a6 = 8 is advocated. e3+5, e3+5, whereby red would sacrifice his chariot and get some compensation by capturing the horse, is not advocated, because black would simply have the threat of a spotted cannon checkmate and still threaten with the elbow horse checkmate. And black will have a winning position at this point in time. So if e3+5 were played, and after trading chariots, this cannon will be a very powerful entity. Now one might wonder, instead of defending with e7-5, would counter-sacrificing a horse or hoping that this would be exchange of horses, would it be viable? The answer would be no, because black would simply refuse to trade horses. This horse or this elephant, this horse cannot move, and red can only retreat his elephant. But once it does, this flank will still be under heavy attack, and there's always the possibility of black retreating the cannon to the throat rank to capture the red chariot. So black will also have a huge advantage in this situation. So e3+5 is not advocated, but what would happen if h6+7 were c6 = 8 were played? Again, there will be 3 options for black. R3 equals to 7 would be a very proactive approach of keeping the situation complicated, as this would be beneficial for black at this point in time. Capturing the cannon would not be a good idea because red could have traded material, and the situation on the board now would be much calmer. Things will not be as complicated. Although black would have the advantage, it will still take black a lot of effort to try to gain a winning position. So red would have survived unscathed. So c2 plus 5 to trade material would not be a good idea. Instead, it would have been better for black to keep things complicated. 3 plus 4 to capture the elephant would also lead to very complicated situations because red will simply capture material, and red will play e3 plus 5 as a prophylactic defensive measure at this point in time. Red continues to attack. If the red chariot captured the black chariot, red would checkmate with h1 plus 3. And of course, black would not allow this to red would not allow this to happen, and would trade material in this manner. So at this point in time, red will lack one elephant, but the number of major pieces and the number of pawns will be equal. More trading on material. And as can be seen, although black has the slight advantage, the number of pawns, any advantages in the number of pawns would be easily decimated, and this would be a rather drawy situation. It would take black a lot of effort to win, even though black lacked an elephant at this point. So e3 plus 5 would be the recommended move. As mentioned, would red have benefited more if he did not play e3 plus 5 and tried to prevent black's elbow horse checkmate with this move? Black would simply retreat his chariot, retreat. And at this point in time, as the battle drags on, the fact that red lacked an elephant would become prominent, and it would be a major issue that red would have trouble trying to rectify. So as can be seen, we're going to retreat a little bit. So r3 plus 4 to capture the elephant would not be a good idea. The best way would be for black to play r3 equals to 7 in this complicated situation. If r3 equals to 7 was played, red would continue to defend with e3 plus 5, trying to cover the weakness of this elephant and also attack the black chariot. Black will simply capture the horse and trade chariots at this point. Now, this would be a sound move because if c8 plus 5 were played, black would have more pawns. 1, 2, 3, 4 major pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4 major pieces, but black would have more pawn. And the fact that this red chariot was closed, and so was this left red chariot. Black would have more pawns and more active position, and generally speaking, the advantage that black would have will be significantly greater. So c8 plus 5 to trade material would not be a good idea. r3 plus 5 would perhaps be a better alternative. So if black sacrificed his chariot in this manner, black would not be in a hurry to capture the chariot, but would apply more pressure to this file with c6 equals to 2, hoping to gain material. Red will be forced to move his chariot to safety, and black will continue his attack, targeting the red chariot in this manner. After trading material, it is very obvious that black would have a significant advantage. The situation on the board has slowly diffused. There is no obvious or immediate threat to checkmate at this point in time, but as can be seen, black's pieces are very active and out in the open, while red's pieces would still require much development. And as can be seen, black can be prepared to capture the central pawn with his horse and then play c2 equals to 5 as an immediate attack. Black can be very optimistic about his prospects in this position. So we're going to retract a little bit. Retract to, this will be the third variation, and in variation CA, p7+1 was played. And we're going to go to this second major sub-variation. In variation CB, red plays r8 equals to 7. Now, on the surface, it would seem that red would not only have gained a pawn, moved his chariot to safety, he would now have a very strong and powerful offensive position. However, this, as mentioned earlier, the weakness of this elephant, or the fact that this elephant was susceptible to splendid cannon checkmate, would make the positioning of this red chariot very vulnerable, and this fact will be exploited by black. So immediately, black would retreat his cannon and prepare to target this chariot. But at the same time, in doing so, black would be prepared to gain material by capturing the cannon and the chariot. So black could now play c6 equals to r7 equals to 8. Now, what will happen if black tried to defend in this manner? This would be, black will make use of this chance for this covered attack, but black will also take the opportunity to develop his horse, because if this horse were able to be developed, red will be in all sorts of trouble. So if p7+1 was played, red tries to keep things complicated with this situation. If red chose to play p3+1 instead, just threaten the white, and black can also be very satisfied with the situation, because he would not only have deterred or forced this chariot away, the horse would now be developed, can be easily developed to the riverbank, and black would have other options like playing h3+2, etc, etc. That can be satisfied with this situation. So r2 equals to 3 was red's attempt to keep things complicated, but black would simply develop the horse for attack, sacrificing the pawn, and black would try to trade away this chariot, because this was the most important defending piece for this flank. So by trading away the chariot, black would be able to mount a lot of pressure on this flank, and at the same time, this cannon will also be attacking this chariot. So this would be a trade of chariots. So in the board, red continued with r8+4 to sacrifice his chariot for 2 of the enemy pieces. r8 equals to 6 will be a major mistake, because, as mentioned before, black will now apply all sorts of pressure on this file to target this elephant for a quick checkmate, and the black chariot would now be open to attack. And on the other hand, although red had moved the pawn across the river, the chariot and pawn would not be able to do much on both offensive or defensive ends at this point in time. And red's defense with the 5-6 cannons would not be adequate to protect the elephant. So black would have seized the initiative in this situation, and that is why black should trade chariots in this manner. Oh, sorry, red should try to trade his chariot for 2 pieces and prevent the smiled cannon attack. Red would trade material, and black would link his horses on the cross riverbank rank, threatening to play r4 equals to 7, which is prevented by red. Now, the reason for doing so would be that black would hope that he will be able to trade away any remaining chariots, so that it will become, the endgame situation will become be in black's favor, because black would have a chariot and red would not have any chariots left. Now, in such situations, especially when red would not have developed his pieces sufficiently, not having a chariot would be to red's great disadvantage. So after forcing this elephant to move the edge file, red's total defensive formation would have weakened, and black would continue to retreat his chariot to safety in prevention of peacetime +1. And at this point in time, it would be a roughly even situation for black, but the lack of a red chariot would become pronounced over time, and at this point in time, black can be very satisfied with this outcome. So we shall retract a little bit. Variation CA, variation CAB. Sorry, I got lost in the variations, and we shall now discuss the final variation, variation CBA, whereby black would play C2 equals to 1 to offer a trade of chariots. Now at this point in time, red's right chariot was closed and not a threat. Now traversing the cannon would offer a trade of material to take out this left chariot and allow red to continue his plans of attacking the elephant. So offering a trade of chariots at this point in time, red would have to accept it, would have to accept the trade, and red can only try to defend this elephant in this manner to prevent the chariot from moving. Black would take the opportunity to move his chariot to the cross riverbank rank, whereby now the cannon will not be attacking the chariot, forcing the chariot back, and black would continue to develop his material. As can be seen, black would have a very stable formation, and this black chariot would control a significant portion of the board. So this would be the final position that was discussed. So if you have been lost in the variations, please go back to the video slowly, and I've added timelines or timestamps to help you navigate the variations. So even though black had tried to play r2 equals to 8, if black countered aggressively and correctly, targeting this the left flank, black will be able to achieve a very stable formation, and red would not have gained anything from his efforts. So black would not need to have to worry about the red chariot attacking the horse. So I hope you have enjoyed this short video, this long video with many complicated variations. And if you like the work that I've been doing, please subscribe and to my channel and give me a like. Thank you.